Hey folks, my name's Nathan Johnston, and in this video, we're going to look at something called Herschel tracks, which are a tool in Conway's game of life for stitching together some of the biggest and most interesting patterns that have ever been built in it. In this video, we're going to look at how to build oscillators and glider guns of any period 61 or larger, but then we're going to do a couple follow-up videos as well, where we look at even more interesting and exotic patterns that you can create with these. So let's see how it works. Before we can talk about Herschel tracks, I've got to tell you what a Herschel itself is. And before I do that, I want to show you how it can arise naturally from other objects. So let's start off with this 5-cell configuration right here, which is called an R pentomino. Okay, so pentomino just means 5 cells connected orthogonally to each other, and it's called the R pentomino just because it kind of looks like a lowercase r. This pattern's interesting historically because it's one of the first patterns that was found that explodes and seems to behave chaotically. So let's see what happens if we follow its evolution for 28 generations. This 7-cell configuration up here is called a B heptaplet, and for all intents and purposes, it's the exact same thing as the B heptomino that we saw in our previous video. After one generation, these two objects, the B heptaplet and the B heptomino, evolve into the exact same thing. So anything that you can do with one of them, you can do with the other one of them. And in that previous video, I tried to convince you of the fact that B heptominos appear all over the place. So the upshot of this is that it's very easy to generate B heptominos or B heptaplets, basically the same thing. Okay, so let's see what happens now if we evolve this for another 20 generations. Now, finally, at this point, we see the star of the show. That 7-cell configuration at the top there, that is a Herschel, and that's the object that we're going to be moving around tracks to build oscillators and guns in this video. The point of showing you all of this evolution that led to the Herschel is to try to convince you of the fact that they're extremely naturally occurring. If you have a way of generating B heptominos, then you have a way of generating Herschels as well, because you can just let that B heptomino evolve for another 20 generations. Similarly, if you have a way of generating R pentominoes, you can just let them evolve for 48 generations and boom, you've got a Herschel. Okay, I want to take this evolution just a little bit farther to show you something that happens after 21 more generations, okay? If we evolve this for 21 more generations, then what happens is this Herschel, well, it evolves into a mess of junk, but it evolves into a mess of junk that lets out a glider. A glider escapes from the Herschel after 21 generations. I point this out to you for 2 reasons. The first reason is that it's extremely historically significant. This glider right here was the very first glider ever observed in Conway's game of life. Back in 1969, Richard K. Guy was one of the first people playing around with life with John Conway, and he was tracking the evolution of the R pentomino because it was one of the very few patterns that they didn't know what happened to it. It exploded into this mess of junk, and it seemed chaotic for too long for them to be able to track. So they were playing around with on Go boards, trying to figure out what happened one generation at a time. And when they finally got to generation 69, that's when they saw this glider, and it was the very first time that a glider had ever been observed in life. The second reason is that this glider is going to be extremely important to us once we start trying to stitch together Herschel tracks. It's actually going to get in our way a lot, and we're going to need to find some way to deal with it, to get rid of it. To actually be able to make use of Herschels, we're going to need some way to move them around, because if we just leave them to evolve on their own, they're just going to explode into some chaotic mess. One thing that we can try is placing other objects in the path of the Herschel so that when it hits those objects, its evolution is changed, and hopefully, if we're really lucky, its evolution will be changed in a useful way. Most of the time, this won't happen. If we just place objects randomly, most of the time the Herschel's going to hit them, and yeah, its evolution is going to be changed, but it's going to be changed in a random, unuseful way to some other chaotic explosion. But if we're lucky, every now and then, something slightly more useful happens. For example, if we place a single block just slightly in front of a Herschel, what happens is that block eats the Herschel. The block survives, but the Herschel is cleanly destroyed. This particular reaction isn't useful for us right now because we don't want the Herschel to be destroyed. Instead, our goal is to find a configuration of still lifes that we can place nearby that cause the Herschel just to be moved from one place to another. People have run all sorts of computer searches to find configurations of still lifes like this. For example, let's look at what happens if we let a Herschel evolve next to this configuration of 4 blocks. So after 64 generations, we can see that a Herschel reappears on the other side of the blocks. In some sense, these four blocks here, they've rotated and moved that Herschel 90 degrees down to the bottom right. Configurations of still lifes like this one here that move a Herschel from one position to another are called Herschel conduits. And they're really useful because they let us move Herschels around the plane, potentially releasing gliders or not. Let's see what happens if we stitch together multiple copies of this Herschel conduit here. In other words, let's take another copy of this Herschel conduit and put it down so that our original output Herschel is now the input Herschel for the second copy of this conduit. Okay, and then after another 64 generations, we now see that the Herschel has been rotated another 90 degrees. And let's place another copy of the conduit there. It's rotated another 90 degrees. And then let's place a fourth copy of the conduit to sort of complete the circle. And what we'll get after we do this is a complete track for the Herschel. It's just going to be rotated 90 degrees 4 times in a row and end up exactly back where it started. Because it takes 64 generations for the Herschel conduit to rotate the Herschel by 90 degrees, it takes 256 generations for the Herschel to make a complete loop here. So this is a period 256 glider gun that we just constructed. If we want to turn this glider gun into an oscillator, it's as simple as placing eaters along the output glider lanes. And this period 256 glider gun and the associated period 256 oscillator, they were found by David Buckingham in September 1995. And in fact, he's the one who found that Herschel conduit that rotates a Herschel by 90 degrees as well. A natural question at this point is, how can we ramp up? How can we find glider guns and oscillators of other periods using these same techniques? And a first strategy that we might try is placing additional Herschels along this Herschel track here. For example, right now it takes 256 generations for a single Herschel to go all the way around. So why don't we just place 2 Herschels on the Herschel track so that after 128 generations, they've each rotated 180 degrees and taken each other's spot, which will give us a period 128 oscillator or glider gun. The problem with this is that each Herschel releases a glider early into its evolution, and that glider actually gets in the way of the Herschel that's behind it. They collide into each other and cause an explosion. They cause the track to stop working. Okay, so we're going to need additional tools to actually make this sort of procedure work and to be able to construct oscillators and glider guns of periods other than 256. To construct glider guns and oscillators of other periods, we're going to have to introduce at least one other Herschel conduit. The one that we're going to make use of is this one right here that just consists of 2 eaters and a block. Let's see what happens when we run this Herschel conduit for 77 generations. We can see after 77 generations, this conduit here, it pushes the Herschel forward and it flips it vertically. And this is different than the previous conduit that we saw. The previous conduit, remember, it rotated the Herschel clockwise by 90 degrees. Because these two conduits move Herschels around in different ways, we're going to be able to stitch them together to create all sorts of tracks for Herschels of different shapes and sizes. Before we do that, though, it's going to be useful to give names to these conduits so that we can actually talk about them without things getting too confusing. This conduit on the left, we're going to call FX77. The conduit on the right, we're going to call R64. We'll talk in another video about where these names come from specifically, but for now, just know that these are the 2 names of these conduits. To get a sense for how these 2 conduits are going to help us build oscillators of a wide variety of periods, let's just start stitching them together without worrying too much about what our goal is just yet. Okay, so let's start off with a copy of the FX77 conduit, which remember that's going to push the Herschel forward and flip it. And then let's just put another FX77 right beside it so that that pushes the Herschel even farther forward and flips it back to its original orientation. All right, let's throw an R64 conduit at the end of that little path that we just made to rotate the Herschel by 90 degrees now, so that now instead of going to the right, the Herschel's sort of going downward. And now let's just repeat this procedure. Let's put another FX77 conduit below it, then another one below that, and then finally a second R64 conduit at the very bottom of the track. And let's let the Herschel evolve to the bottom here. Before we go any farther, I'm going to back up a little bit. Did you notice anything wrong with what just happened? Okay, the last 77 plus 77 plus 64 generations. Something went very, very wrong there. Let's back up a little bit so that you can see more precisely what it is. And here you can see that one of the gliders that the Herschel shot out, it actually is colliding with one of the earlier Herschel conduits here. Okay, so I mean, at this point, this isn't too much of a problem because we were lucky and it didn't explode into a chaotic mess. It just turned that eater there into a block. But if we expect this Herschel to sort of go around in a loop and make an oscillator, that's a big problem because when the Herschel gets to that point in the track again, well, it's not going to work. That conduit is now broken. To fix this problem, what we do is every single Herschel conduit that we place, we actually attach an eater to it. And the job of that eater is to destroy the glider that comes out of the next Herschel, out of the output Herschel that evolves then past that conduit. We typically have quite a bit of flexibility in where we can place this eater to destroy the glider. Because remember, the glider's just going along a straight diagonal path, and anywhere that we place the eater along that path, yeah, it'll destroy the glider. But typically, we want to place the eater sort of as close to where it was generated as possible. And the reason for this is, well, that glider, it moves straight across the path of any further incoming Herschels. So if we can destroy the glider before any additional Herschels actually would have made contact with it, then we can pack Herschels more tightly together and make a wider variety of oscillator and gun periods out of this construction. So typically, when we use the FX77 and R64 conduits, we actually use these versions of them that have eaters attached to them. These eaters here will destroy the glider that comes from the output Herschel of these conduits, and will destroy them very quickly, actually. In this configuration here, the FX77 and R64 conduits each have a repeat time of 61 generations, which means that you can feed Herschels into them once every 61 generations without those Herschels or their resulting output gliders colliding with each other and screwing things up. This most recent Herschel track that we constructed gives rise to an oscillator that has period 872. And this makes sense because it has 4 R64 conduits, and each of those takes 64 generations for the Herschel to go through. And it has 8 FX77 conduits, which each takes 77 generations for the Herschel to go through. And, well, 4 times 64 plus 8 times 77, that's 872. So great, we get a period 872 oscillator. But very quickly and easily, we can also construct oscillators of a few other periods from this exact same track. For example, if instead of just placing one Herschel on this track, we place 2 equally spaced Herschels, then now it's going to have period equal to 872 divided by 2, which is 436. Similarly, if we place 4 Herschels on the track, again equally spaced, then now it's going to have period 218. And if we place 8 Herschels on the track, now it's going to have period 109. So we get these 4 different periods from this one track. Unfortunately, we can't get any additional periods from this Herschel track. If we try to place any additional Herschels on this track, they're going to be too close together. They're going to be closer than 61 generations apart, which is too small. It's lower than the repeat time of the conduits that make up this track. So the Herschels and their gliders, they're going to collide with each other and sort of cause a collision, cause an explosion that destroys the track. But that's not too much of a barrier for us because we can construct other Herschel tracks out of these exact same conduits. For example, if instead of using 2 FX77 conduits on the top and bottom of that Herschel track, if we used 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom, well, we're going to add an additional 4 times 77 generations to the time that takes a Herschel to go around the track. So we're going to get a track that takes 1,180 generations for a Herschel to go around. And then we can play this exact same game, okay? We can just ask, what are the factors of 1,180 that are bigger than or equal to 61? And those factors are 590, 295, 236, and 118. Okay, so we can construct oscillators with those periods now by placing 2, 4, 5, or 10 equally spaced Herschels along this track. And if we keep doing this, if we keep adding FX77 conduits to the top and bottom of this Herschel track rectangle here, we can create oscillators of almost any period bigger than or equal to 61 that we want to. But there is a slight restriction. And that restriction is that this method, it will never, ever, ever produce an oscillator whose period is a multiple of 7 or a multiple of 11. And the reason for this is whenever we add FX77 conduits to the top and bottom of this Herschel track, or to any side of this Herschel track even, we're adding a multiple of 77 generations to the amount of time that it takes a Herschel to go around. So no matter how many of these FX77 conduits we add, we're never going to get a multiple of 7 or a multiple of 11 as the total period, as the total amount of time that it takes the Herschel to go around that track. So we're going to need to make one final tweak to these Herschel tracks to get those last remaining periods, to get those multiples of 7 and multiples of 11 that are bigger than or equal to 61. The trick to creating these last few oscillator and gun periods via Herschel tracks like this is to realize that if instead of placing an even number of FX77 conduits on a side of this track, if we place an odd number of FX77 conduits, then the R64 conduit that comes afterwards, it's going to flip the Herschel in the other direction. So for example, if on the top side we have an odd number of FX77 conduits, then instead of the R64 conduit at the top right, instead of that flipping the Herschel so that it goes down, it's going to flip it so that it goes up. And this lets us create tracks of a much wider variety of shapes. They're not just going to be rectangles anymore. So for example, if we keep two FX77 conduits on the top and left of the rectangle, but then we just put one FX77 conduit on the bottom and right, then what happens is instead of the following R64 conduit bending inwards, they're going to bend outward. So we can make sort of an hourglass shape or figure eight shaped track like this one here. This particular track doesn't really help us at all, okay? Because this track here, there are 8 R64 conduits and 12 FX77 conduits for a total period of 1,436. And, well, the divisors of 1,436 that are above 61, none of them are multiples of 7 or 11. It's nothing new. Okay, but let's pay close attention to the number of R64 conduits in this track, okay? Back when we had just rectangular Herschel tracks, we always had exactly 4 R64 conduits, okay? Just one at each of the corners, okay? But now that we sort of bent in some of the sides, now we actually have 8 R64 conduits, and that's really important, okay? Every time we sort of attach one of these squares or rectangles or bulbs or whatever we're going to call them, when we attach those to each other, we get 4 additional R64 conduits. So for example, if we make an hourglass shape that sort of has 3 bulbs diagonally attached like this, okay, now we're going to have a total of 12 R64 conduits, okay? And then if we go down to 4 bulbs, now we have 16 R64 conduits. So here's the trick, okay? Remember, our goal is to create oscillators that have a period that's a multiple of 7 or 11, okay? So what we can do is we can just add a whole boatload of these bulbs to each other in sort of a diagonal chain until the number of R64 conduits is a multiple of 77. So what we do is we string 76 of these bulbs together in a diagonal line and then attach a rectangular piece at the bottom for a total of sort of 77 components. And what we're going to have is 4 times 77 R64 conduits in this Herschel track. So in particular, it's going to take a multiple of 77 generations for any Herschel to get through all of those 77 R64 conduits. And because it always takes a multiple of 77 generations for the Herschel to get through the remaining FX77 conduits, we know that the time it takes the Herschel to travel around this ridiculously large track is actually a multiple of 77. So now we can create oscillators of whatever period 61 or larger we like just by creating this large L-shaped Herschel track. The length of this track is going to be ridiculously large, but the point is we can make a large enough track that's a multiple of any number, and then we can just cut it down to the number we actually want by placing a suitable number of Herschels on it. So for example, if we want to create a period 700 oscillator, just make a large Herschel track whose period is some multiple of 700, and then place sufficiently many Herschels on it to cut its period back down to 700. And then finally, if you want to turn one of these oscillators into a gun of that same period, just remove one of these eaters that we added a few minutes ago so that the output glider of a Herschel just escapes off to one of the corners. All right, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're going to do a couple more videos on Herschel tracks after this to see some other neat things that you can do with them other than just building oscillators and glider guns. But we've gone on long enough for now. I've got a bunch of extra resources down in the description as always, so check those out. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.